Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show, it's about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Outpost. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's focus on everything happening at The Outpost first. So, you have this complicated situation with Tobin. The love triangle situation, was made not so much a love triangle situation last episode when Felicity was like, hey, our marriage, you're not bound to me anymore. You can marry Rosman if you want to. And obviously now it puts Tobin in a situation of like, okay, what are you going to do? I was curious whether it was going to play out this way, and it kind of played out the way I was wondering. Like, I was thinking, oh, you might end up picking Felista over Rosman, which is even sadder just because, like, oh, you have this opportunity and obviously you love Rosman, but for him it's like Felista, it's like he will always love her because she was his first love, childhood love, and and especially what she was willing to do last episode, it just, it made him see her. It reinvigorated, I think, how he always felt about her. It's just his feelings for Rosman kind of blocked that out. But now it's like, this is kind of how I felt. It's almost sad because it's almost like Rosman was a replacement for that love. I mean, I guess you could also make the argument maybe in Gwen and Garrett's situation, it's kind of a similar thing. Like their situation was kind of blotted out by how he felt about Talon, but also how she eventually felt about Tobin. It's a whole complicated mess of a situation, just in a sad way. And, Tobin decides to stay with Felista, but it's like, regardless, of what happens, because Felista was like, regardless of what I choose, the fact is that her men and our men will always be loyal to you. But for him, it's like, you made me a better person. I'm a better person because of you, Rosman. I'm a more honorable man. And I think for him, the more honorable thing is to follow his heart. This is where his heart led him. And it's like, going against that would be kind of tarnishing the man that you helped make me into, but it's like, regardless of everything, I am loyal to you through and through. But obviously for Gwen, it's hard because it's like, it's like her heart's literally being broken right in front of her. It was already bad enough before, but now it's just kind of like even more so in this situation. So, oh, and also you had that heartbreaking scene between Janzo and Mutt, and the way he was like, "Come on, Janzo, you're my big brother. Like, Mom told you to look after me and everything." I'm like, oh, I was like, "Dad's dirty, Yavala." But it's also interesting because, like, out of anyone who's under control, he seems like the most like himself. That was like such a Mutt, like his expressions, who he is. Even the fact is he stopped. It's like, it seems like there's something there. Like, maybe Yavala doesn't, I mean, she has control over him, but it doesn't seem like it's as strong because it feels like Mutt is more himself. Because everyone else who's in, part of the United is a little stilted and just kind of like, I don't know, there's something about Mutt in particular where it's like, it seems like he's in a lot more control than everybody else. I don't know. Granted, Yavala's still using him, trying to get at Janzo, tugging at his heart, but it's like, get out of here, you stay hidden until this is all resolved. If you stay nearby, the guards will kill you. It's like, he can't, because obviously, Janzo probably feels guilt about it too, because he's like, yeah, I brought Mutt along, and, because of that, he's in this situation. I mean, especially because it's the thing of like, he chose to save, he didn't have much of a choice. He only had one vial. He ended up saving Ren over, so I'm sure that also plays some part in that, but still, Yavala has like her army amassed, but she's already got people on the inside, which we see that slowly being chipped away. Tobin confesses to Felista, because even Felista was like, wait, I don't understand. He's like, I love you, and I want to stay married to you if you'll have me. And it's like, oh, it's just, because there's a part of me that's a little sad, but at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, that's actually really sweet. It's that complicated thing of like, you want Tobin and Rosman to be there. At least I did. So it's just, but for me, it's just kind of, it's still that thing of like, it's actually a heartwarming, sweet thing as well. I mean, especially because it's like, well, things that work out between Rosman and Garrett, it's kind of, I guess on some level, it's nice to know that things did work out with Felista and Tobin, them being in very similar circumstances. I don't know. It just hit me a certain way where I was like, oh, I wasn't like upset. I was actually more happy than upset that, that being a thing, that being the choice that Tobin made. But sadly, more and more people get infected, including people at the gates. And then, like, you see them holding the rat cages, and you're like, those are probably empty. Those are regular rats. They might not even be infected rats. But so do I. Some more and more people. Janzo comes out. He's like, something's not right. Then he picks up the rats, and he sees, like, wait, these are the rats here. And Warlita's coming towards him. He sees she's infected. He realizes, crap, everybody's infected, run. Everyone runs towards the keep. Garrett bails Janzo out. Tobin's is helping out with his men, taking people out, but then they get taken out. Tobin literally slides through. Wait, where's Felista? Felista's okay because she's got the Kinge. Luckily, that was a surprise. They didn't know about that because only like the main characters know that she had the Kinge. But it's like she was able to defend herself. I'm like, yeah, but she can't control it, so it stops. And so they're trying to kill her now because it's like, well, you can't be infected, you can't be brought into the United, we just have to die. So, but Tobin wanting to save her, sneaks, Janzo points him like, hey, you can go here and potentially save her. He's like, thank you, Janzo. And it's so sad because it's like, I got to go save my wife. And it's just like, you could just see it cut Rosman deeper and deeper. I didn't talk about it, but a little conversation she had between her and Garrett, where she was like, it's kind of like between us, like, Tobin and Felista's situation. And Garrett's almost like, she's like, I'm not trying to seduce you. You're with Talon. I get it. Plus, Talon's my best friend. I would never do that to her. I won't lie to you. Every time that situation comes up, I keep thinking, like, are we going to complicate Talon and Garrett's situation? I mean, to be fair, Garrett's situation was already complicated last season because of him being controlled and everything that he did, trying to kill Rosman. It's a whole thing. But, yeah, like, it's a heartbreaking situation in that regard. But like I said, you could tell it like cut her deeper. And it's like, oh, did you send Tobin to get more help? It's like, no, he went to go save his wife. Granted, she didn't say it like that, but you could just tell like, the tears, the heartbreak. Luckily, he was able to save Felista. And they're on their way back to the keep. I was like, oh boy. I was like, oh, don't tell me Tobin's going to get infected trying to, saving Felista and everything. Worse, he gets stabbed. I was like, oh shit. I was like, he's going to fall back. The crowd's going to grab him and he's going to get infected. But it's like, no, he kept going. I'm like, all right, come on, hoist him over the wall. Come on, pull him up. And just arrows to the back. I was like, what? No, I was like, this is the most effed up situation in so many damn regards. There was actually I can't remember. There's some other relationship that's like that, but I can't remember. There's some other show where it's like some characters hooked up, and just when they hooked up, one of them died. I don't remember. It's there in the back of my mind. I just can't remember what it is. There's like some show or something I know where like characters hooked up, and just when they did, like someone ended up dying. I think that's the case. I don't remember. But regardless, I was like, that sucks. And he's there dying like at the end, like, they're trying to get Janzo. It's like, but Janzo can't do anything for him. And obviously the two women that he loved are there, to see him die. It's like, I was like, why did you do that? I was like, that's such a dick move, especially him and Felista. It's even more heartbreaking because it's like, I think it'd be a little less complicated if he hadn't died. Well, it's actually interesting because that's kind of the whole situation with Garrett was kind of similar because obviously it was still in that in-between lane between him, Gwen, and Talon a little bit. But in this case, it's like he had made his choice and, him and Felista were happy. And it's like, but it's like, regardless of anything, like, that's still someone that Rosman loved, and to lose him like that sucks. Because once again, she had lost Garrett for a bit in many different regards. Thought he was dead, but also eventually when he does return, it turns out like, he's not the person I thought he was, and now he's with Talon. So I'm sure that complicates things. But also it's like, now the man that you were in love with, that you wanted to marry, is now gone. And his last words to Felista were like, use your power to protect the queen. And it's just like, which I think that's going to be a beautiful thing, because it's probably going to be a complicated thing because they're going to be brought together by the fact is that they both love the same person, and it's like, I don't think it's any hard feelings. And I think, Felista being there to help Rosman and protect her, especially with her power, I think probably, because obviously her Kinge in particular, I think, is driven by emotion, but it's also because it's like that because she doesn't know how to fully control it yet. But when it's all said and done, I think she'll be able to use it to protect Rosman because it's like the last thing Tobin wanted for her to do. So, I mean, I say that, but maybe I would think they're on good terms just because of everything last episode, and this, I think, will ultimately bring them closer together, but it's still just kind of like, damn, that sucks. That sucks that played out that way. It's like, shit, I wouldn't have expected him to kill Tobin off like that. That's That's interesting. It's actually kind of interesting timing too, because like, well, there was another show where a character of a similar like importance like kind of died. I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, man. Also, it's like it's the CW. Like they love. I mean, maybe it's just actors or maybe it's just story choices. But when they like, I mean, to be fair too, it's also at the end of a season. It's a different thing if it's closer to the beginning of the season. You're dropping main characters like that. Damn, like the 100 did that a couple of times. Well, that was kind of near the end of the season on one case, and another case it was like the second episode of season 5. Regardless, I'm going on a tangent and stuff like that. But nevertheless. So there's all of that. I mean, granted, they're still in a terrible situation because like the entire outpost is infected. Most of the outpost is infected. Who isn't infected is at the keep, but it's like they're so outnumbered. Especially ironic because Garrett was like, "Oh yeah, we can take on Yuvala's people." She doesn't have that many people. Like all the people she has under her control are all peasants. She doesn't have any real like trained soldiers. But to be fair, like from what most of the people she's gotten, because also let's not forget the capital's under her control, but I guess like that's so far away it would take time. But I guess they didn't realize like how much she had been amassing her army. Regardless, she's got an army of her own, But I guess like even with the Prime Order soldiers under her control, it still might not be that might not make up a large number of the people she has under control. Regardless, the Outpost is in a crappy situation. Then on the other side of things, we're in the Plains of Ash, and pretty quickly run into Corvin. Geez, I was blinking on Zed's name for a second there. Geez, sorry. Zed's brother. And it's like, oh, I want you dead. It's like, oh, wait. Hey, it's Ren. Hey, and you're like, okay, so you can definitely see the whole, oh, he's crazy, not in his right state of mind, and you can understand what Ren was kind of talking about last episode. And even it catching, like, because even like Zed's almost like, who is this person? This can't be my brother. And so obviously for him, he's pissed at Zed because he's blaming Zed. It's like, you left me. He's like, no, I guess because for him it's like, because he said you weren't there, but it's like, oh, I was just following orders. I thought it was kind of implying like Zed had done something that he didn't like, but I think it's like Zed didn't go with him. Like obviously, whatever he was sent, which we later on find out that Corvin was one of the people sent by Yuvala to go after Talon's dad, and so I think he blames Zed because it's like essentially he blames Yuvala because it's like she left me behind, but you also left me behind because you didn't come back for me. You didn't go with me in the first place. You're supposed to be my brother. We're supposed to fight side by side, but you weren't there for me. And obviously for Zed, he's confused, especially when it's like, oh, you survived, but you're the reason why mom and dad, or at least their dad. No, I think, yeah, their mom and dad died. And Zed's like, they died in battle. It's like, yeah, but why did you survive and they didn't? It's like, I guess I got lucky, but he's like, no, because you killed them. And that, you can tell it's just so much in his head is jumbled and he's not thinking straight. He's crazy. The way Ren was talking about, she was like, yeah, he was like this before. I was like, wait, so he was like this before and Zed had never noticed it? Maybe when he eventually came back, it was like that, but it wasn't nearly as bad. But while Zed was gone, it got extremely worse. Because I don't know if time within the Plains of Ash, I think they might have talked about that. I don't remember. It is another dimension, so you would assume space and time and, like time works differently there. So like maybe like, maybe not like some hyperbolic time chamber level stuff of like, oh yeah, a day outside is actually like an entire month on the inside or something like that. I don't think it's nothing extreme as extreme as that, but still. I don't know if they ever explain. Well, I guess it's been probably like at this point in time because you'd also probably have to calculate like how long it's been since Yuvala and them came over. Like for one, in between seasons, in between season 2 and 3. I mean, who knows at what point they ended up killing. I don't know if they ever put a time frame to that. I don't think it's important necessarily, but it would be interesting to be able to put a time frame of like how long ago it was that they stole that box from Talon's dad. But regardless. He doesn't want to, well, he wants to take them to the cave only so he can send Zed in. He's also thinking about sending Talon in. But I guess because for him, even in his state of mind, I guess he has that same mentality where it's like, oh, it's unnatural, the fact that she cut her ears to look like a human, like kind of almost looking at her like a trick. Because in his mind, he's very paranoid because he's thinking, oh, you guys were sitting here by Yavala to kill me. Because it turns out, and maybe they had brought this up earlier in the season, I didn't remember, but apparently he was one of the people that was like, don't trust Yavala, Yavala is evil and stuff like that. So did he really know something, or was it simply a byproduct of Yavala left you to die, so you were like, yeah, she cares more so about what she wants. So that was kind of a clear picture of like she cares more about what she wants rather than the people. And in the end of the day, because obviously she wanted to make it seem like, oh, like I'm doing this for us, I'm doing this for our people, when in actuality it's all about her. But he takes them to the cave, but he's not willing to go in, and he doesn't want Ren to go in, but Ren's like, I have to go in. You don't have to show us the way, but I will go in. But because for him, it's like, there's nothing but death in there. It's like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I can only assume it means the Kinj, because obviously the Kinj is like, anyone who has the Kinj touches someone, they die. I guess that was kind of what, so I assumed that's what that was all about. And obviously for Talon, it is a situation of, I want to get answers. And well, since I'm bringing up her getting answers, Zed gets some answers too about what his situation was. Obviously, he was one of the people that was sent with the 8. I think he was one of the 8 who was sent to go after Talon's dad. But obviously, the 2 survived. But later on, Corvin ended up showing up. But he had no like actual wounds, but it seemed like he was dying from something. So they're kind of the worms there are like immune to like most poisons. So she mixed some of their blood and gave that to him, and it saved his life, but it had the effect of, I guess, like destroying maybe parts of his brain or something like that. So Ren saved him, but at a cost. And I guess that's why she was so reluctant to tell the story to Jan. So she was just like, long story short, it's like, because she didn't want to admit, like, I'm the reason why he ended up that way. I think because for her, it's like, she was trying to do the right thing. It's not like she was experimenting on him, but it was still just a thing. I think she blames herself thinking like, no, like I should have thought things through. I should have tried to find another way. Yeah, I saved his life, but I did this to him. I did this to your brother. I can understand if you hate me, but Zed is like, how can I hate you? I mean, he's actually indebted to you. You didn't do anything wrong. You saved my brother's life. But now in retrospect, part of me wonders, is that actually how the Black Kinj, the Kinj of Death, is that how that works? Is it actually like an instant death thing, or is it more of is it almost like a pestilence type of thing where it's like a touch and you just straight die? Are we talking some, God, what are they? The 4 horsemen. I was trying to think war, pestilence, strife, and death. Well, strife and pestilence are the same thing, aren't they? That always confused me. Darksider screws me over by giving them names like strife. But nevertheless, I'm going on a tangent and stuff like that. But obviously he wants to protect Ren, so it's like, fine, I'll go in there. Because if you're going to die, Ren, I'm going to die by your side, which is like, oh, that's a little sweet. But once again, it's not really, it's more, the only reason why Ren is the one exception to like his situation is because she saved his life. So he is like crazily in love with her because he feels indebted to her. Obviously, you have Zed warning Talon to not get her hopes up because he's like, I don't want your hopes broken about your dad's situation like mine are with my brother, because it's like, his brother isn't the same person that he knew. And it's sad because for him, it's like, I spent so much time devoted to Yavala, and it's like, look what happened to my brother because of her too. And, it was other circumstances, but still at the end of the day, it's because of her. But they go deeper in, they finally find the chamber and everything. What I thought was interesting was like, he made a point to be like, do not look in here. Yavala got the only valuable thing in here. There's nothing but pain in here. I'm like, what the hell is in there that he's blocking out, that he doesn't want them touching? He's like, there's no one here. There's nobody but dead people around. Some of them being some of the 8 that were sent. But then they also find Talon's dad, and he's been speared through like the hands and the stomach, and you're like, oh, that seems. But I'm like, are those special spears that keep him bound like that, or is it something else? And obviously they're like, well, Talon kind of remembers her dad's face because obviously, like I said, she wanted answers. That's why she's like, I don't know whether I'd want him to be alive or dead. She spent so much of her life hating him, and now it's like, she wants to know why he'd rather be. I mean, because she doesn't know the circumstances of why he's here in the Plain of Ash. She gets a little bit from Yavala, but Yavala said your dad was dead, and that was a lie. But they're about ready to pull out the spears, but then he wakes up. And it kind of goes with what Corvin had actually said. He said that basically death, basically was implying like death is immortal. And I was like, is that, I forgot what the exact wording he was saying, but, or like death can't die or something like that. But now he was like, don't touch me, I'll kill you. I don't think he means that. It's like, I'll kill you, like, as in, like, oh, don't, I think it's more like, no, don't touch me, I will accidentally kill you, don't touch me. So that might be why he was sent away in the first place, because he might have already had the Black Kinge at the time, and to protect everyone so that he doesn't make the mistake of touching them, which included Talon and her brother. It could have been a situation that, sadly, that's why he's in the Plain of Ash, to distance himself, why he stays away from other people, because he probably already had the Black Kinge when he came here. That's the reason he came here in the first place, because obviously they found that temple where the other Kinges were, so... Obviously, the only one that was left, well, not just the White Kinge, but the Kinge that Zed has. Like, they found it last season, but it was the only Kinge that was left. But I'm assuming that's why they have him pinned down like that, because he can't die, which is interesting, because it seems like the same thing applies in both cases. I mean, like I said, I believe like the White Kinge and the Black Kinge seem like they are a very yin and yang situation. Like, they seem the most opposite of each other, yet similar in certain regards, because that White Kinge is about bringing people under your fold, uniting them, and then like the Black Kinge is about killing them. But it seems like a byproduct of that is immortality. Obviously, it seems like and there's also the thing, too, and I don't know if I brought that up, but Yavala's got white streaks, so I don't know whether that's taking its toll on her in its own right. I don't know. Splitting so much, having so many people under her control, who knows? But it seems like both Kinges feed off of life. One is feeding off the life of everyone that's under your control, and maybe the Black Kinge is literally feeding off the life of everyone that you kill, which is interesting considering the Green Kinge also is about taking life from one person and giving it to another. So it's interesting that there's so many Kinges that are connected to life and death like that. But maybe the Green is supposed to be kind of like a middle ground to a certain extent, whatever the case may be. So we found Talon's dad, and he's alive, but also, because that's how I was wondering, and I brought this up last episode, who to get the Black Kinge. Like, I feel like the only person that doesn't have a Kinge right now is Ren, so there's a chance that she could end up getting it, and that would cause complications between her and Janzo, because they could never touch again. But if it's staying inside of her dad, then maybe that's okay. I mean, granted, they got to make sure no one touches them or they'll die. Like I said, I'm curious, is it going to be like an instant death move type of thing? Like, touch you, you're dead? Or is it, like I was saying, is that why he was the way he was? Because it's more of an eats you from the inside out. So obviously she couldn't find what was wrong with him. And it's like, maybe that's how the Death Kinge worked. It's not a necessarily instant process. It's like basically poisoning your body from the inside out. Maybe, and what damage... I don't know. I'm curious to see, what ends up happening. Next week's episode is, in fact, the season finale. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this season wraps up and, what goes down, where all of this ends up taking us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.